Hello and welcome to this edition of Capgemini Invent Talks. Today we're going to be talking about the energy transition. I have two experts with me today, Joost and Kim, who are both working in this field. Kim, what are the main challenges that companies are facing with regards to the energy transition?
One example that I would like to point out here is the challenge it has for grid companies. So we see that due to the energy transition, there's many solar parks being built, windmills are being built, and these all need to be connected to the grid. And at the same time, we see a huge increase in the demand for energy over the last few years. And this means that for grid companies, they really have to expand their grid and at a higher scale and also at a higher pace than they are used to. And at the same time, there is a lack of technical personnel in the market and there's a scarcity of materials. So it's not just a matter of simply upscaling their operations. They really have to rethink the whole business model and at the same time find really innovative solutions to really upgrade their production.
Joost, what do you see in this regard?
Yeah, in line with what Kim's saying, it has a huge impact on companies. So imagine parts of the sector has been stable for quite some time. So they have a history of complex and traditional processes, which all of a sudden have to change a lot, become more efficient. Some companies even have to rethink parts of their business models. So a lot of change needs to happen. But these companies also have to be able to undergo this amount of changes. So they have to increase their capacity to change, which is also a big challenge.
So how can these organizations increase their capacity to change?
Well, one thing that we did for a large Dutch grid company, they had a really big transformation project to do this large-scale transformation. And it was really complex, and also the solutions were still unknown. So that is why we used the scaled agile approach. This made it possible to experiment with new solutions in really short iterations. And this made it possible to, in a really quick way, we find the solutions that have the highest impact on the business value. At the same time, we organized the teams around the value stream. So we broke down the silos within the organization and really fostered the collaboration across the whole value chain. And thanks to this, the organization, within 3 years, they actually were able to double their production. Another key success factor here was that the implementation and also the adoption of change was really embedded in the whole process. So it was not an afterthought. But this is something that Joost can tell a bit more about.
Yeah, definitely. So I actually have a fun anecdote. That's something that happens to us at a client recently. One of my colleagues, he walked into a client meeting. And this meeting was to discuss a change initiative. And the client expert, it was a subject matter expert, said, "How can you possibly help us? Because you know nothing of our subject matter." And well, this doesn't mean that everyone at this client organization feels this way or that this is a general conception. But what it does expose is a misconception that is often held against change management. It comes in second place, or that it comes naturally if you have a good idea or a new process or a new system. But if you don't manage change well, you have a risk that it stagnates or that it fails. And that's something that you just can't afford, and especially not in this time if you have to undergo so many changes.
So how can organizations implement change in a sustainable way?
So what you often see is that there's no integral approach to change. So change is run on a project-by-project basis, and these projects are led by subject matter experts and not change professionals. So what happens is that you focus on project deliverables and not as a change outcome as a whole, or a change culture, or making sure that you have velocity as an entire organization. Often no evidence-based methods are used. The focus is usually on the thing that's being implemented, so the technical side of change, and not on actually focusing on behavior. So what can companies do to make sure that they transform in a sustainable way is make sure that you implement an integral approach. Focus on business outcomes, not on project deliverables. Make sure you try to drive a culture of change. Make sure you use evidence-based models. So that's one, an integral approach. The second one is implementation is more than just training and communications. So this is sometimes a conception about change management, but proper change management or sustainable change management is actually trying to change behavior of people in the new way of working. Thirdly, make sure that your ownership of the change lies with the business and not with the change consultants or the one driving the change. Because otherwise, if the change consultant leaves, the change leaves with that person.
Thank you for these interesting insights. If you found this interesting and want to learn more, feel free to reach out. And thank you for watching Capgemini Invent Talks.